What's Up Wednesday. Thanks for joining me today. We're going to look at the watercolour pencils that Stampin' Up have. Fantastic if you want to add a little bit of artwork to your stamps and colour them in. I'm no artist, but with these pencils I feel like I'm a bit of an artist. I mean, I can't even draw a straight line. So thanks to Stampin' Up, they've made it very simple for you to feel like an artist and to bring that inner artist out. So let's get to the desk and get started. Okay, so I'm at my desk, ready and raring to go. Supplies that we're going to need: watercolour pencils. I've just got mine in a tub, but the colours I'm using today are going to be Flirty Flamingo, and two tones of green. I've got Granny Apple Green and Old Olive. All the supplies and the ordering details are listed below. We're also going to need our water painters and blender pen. That's the water fluid 100 paper, which is the best thing I think for watercolouring. Stays on ink. You will need a permanent ink to stamp your image because you do not want your stamped image to bleed once you add the watercolouring and the water to it. So that's an important step as well. And the stamp set I'm using today is the Fresh Cut Flowers. This large image is awesome for doing watercolouring. So you can become an artist today. So let's get started. So I've already mounted my image onto an acrylic block. Now I'll list the sizes and everything for your water fluid paper. Just be aware that is not pure white. It is made of cotton, but it is slightly off-white, and it's not quite very vanilla either. So just be aware of that when you're mounting your images. You can still mount it on a basic white cardstock, but I always like to put a colour behind it anyway. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to ink up my stamp with my stays on, and because it's a large image I'm going to do it the other way around to make sure I get a good coverage of it. Now I am going to do this landscape because I will get two images out of this, and just be aware that the size for this for the water fluid paper is 12.7 by 17.8 centimeters. So you can get two images out of this, but they're slightly smaller than your normal card front. So just be aware of that, but get the most out of your paper. So I'm just going to take that and give that a good press down and try and get the whole image, a nice impression of that image, because it is going to be coloured, so you want to see the outline in this particular technique. There we go. Now while I've got that out, I'm just going to clean that because that stays on, and that needs to be cleaned with your stays on cleaner. So I'm going to give this a good rub, and then I'm just going to take a paper, a baby wipe, and take all that cleaning solution off of there, and that should bring off all the stays on ink as well. Take all that off, look at that. And then I'm going to give that a clean in my Stampin' Scrub, which I've already spritzed, and give that a good clean up, all ready to be used again. I do like to use a baby wipe to get all that fluid that stays on cleaner off, because I don't want it contaminating other stamps that I use in my Stampin' Scrub. So I'll just put that aside and let's get some colouring done. Right, so as I said, I've got my three colours. I've got my water painters and I've got my blender pen. I'm going to take an acrylic block because I just find with an acrylic block I can squirt a bit of water on there, and when I'm blending I can just dip the water in there. I don't need a whole jug of water or anything. So the colour pencils, how beautiful is this? So nice and sharp pencil, and I like to use it on the side So what I'm doing is I'm just going around in circular motions in areas where I think I would like the darkest colour. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread that ink out to become lighter as it goes up the flower. And you'll see what I mean as I get going. So the darker colours would be at the base of the flowers, underneath that, because that's where there's no light coming in. And of course the lighter colour would be at the top of the flowers, virtually into white at the top of your flowers. So that's what I'm aiming at. And as I said, I am no artist, but I do know a little bit about shading and lighting just from looking at nature. And don't you love looking at nature when you're out in the bush? I know when we go camping, I just love it. So just to get you started, that's what I've got. I know it doesn't look much there, so I wonder if I can just close that in a bit. You can see how I've done that. Okay, so I'm going to take my, hope that's in focus now. Alright, so I haven't squeezed it. I squeezed it at first just to get water on the acrylic block. Actually, that's the bigger one. I want the finer one. So there's 3 sizes. I want the finer one for this. So it says here, push. So you push to get your water out and just lift up a little bit of water. In fact, I'm going to take a little bit off. So what I'm going to do is push this colour up and away from the centre. And I'm going to, you can always apply more if need be. But I find if you start light and then work darker, because once you've got it on, you can't, well, you can add more water to remove the colour, but I like to start light anyway. That's just me. You know, you might, when you're sitting experimenting, certainly have a go, see what you like to do. Now, if I was using basic white, can you hear that noise in the background? That's my husband doing dishes. Oh, told him I was filming. Never mind. So if I was using my basic white cardstock and I was doing this all the time, you would find that that paper would peel, and that's where it forms little balls and it tears. So this water fluid paper, you won't get that. So you can go back over and reactivate the colour and it won't pill. So that's very light, but it's so pretty. Very pretty, this colour. So this one's a bigger flower, so we've got a little bit more colour here. And you can just see how I'm pushing that colour out. And the reason I used the side of my pen to start off with was because I didn't want any sharp lines. Sometimes it's a bit hard to get those sharp lines out. So I use this and it just seems to shade a bit better. So now if I want to add more colour, I can simply get my Flirty Flamingo colour pencil and I can just wet the end of it and get more colour. And when you do that, just make sure that you're adding the darker colour to the darker side. You don't want to have the dark colour in the light section, because this is full of colour. You can see there that was a little bit darker than I wanted, but that's alright. Okay. And here we go. It's a beautiful colour. Okay, I just might add a little bit more colour up in here. And just add a bit of water. Okay, so I'm just going to rinse my pen water painter in my acrylic block, which I've just realised is off camera a bit. There we go. I'm going to switch colours, so I'm going to do garden green. No, actually I wanted old olive. So I'll just get my old olive, which is there, and this is garden green. So the garden green the old olive, I'm just going to see these veins. I'm just going to run my pen, and this time I am using the point of my pencil because I just want it to go up the veins, and then I want it fairly dark because I've got a big area to spread that ink around. So I'm just going to follow the veins, and that's what the stamps are all designed to do, to give you a guide of where to colour. Well, if they weren't designed for that, I'm saying they are, because it guides me. It's awesome. So just up in there, and then the other leaves, I just do a bit of colouring, just a little bit of light colouring where there's no veins there. I'll do old olive on here, and then I might go in with my garden green to do it darker. So then we'll just get our pen, make sure all that pink is off that pen, and you can always just flush it, squeeze it and flush the water out. Okay, so I'm just going to move this colour around just like we did before. There we go. And the leaves are lighter on the outside than what they are on the inside. And you can always just move that around more. Awesome how the water just activates the colour in these watercolour pencils. Ah, there we go. Still getting used to filming. There we go. So I'm going to go in and colour the rest of these, and I might speed the film up for you. See here, I've just put a little bit too much water on that, so you can just dab that with a tissue. I think mine might dry, so don't be afraid. You can just get a dry or a bit of dry paper towel or tissue if you put too much water on. Right, now I did want to show you the blender pen, and I got carried away there, but I will go in and show you. Now it does work very similar to your water painters, but they come with a double-ended sided pen, and they have like a fluid in it. It's not water and it's not an ink, but it's a blending solution. So I just want to show you here. I'm just going to add a little bit more colour to these leaves here, and hopefully this blender pen will show you. It just blends exactly like water, and it's really good for smaller areas, and it just blends in nicely. That's beautiful. I can even go in and blend these colours a bit more if I want with my blender pen. It works the same as the water painters. It's up to you. Some people prefer the blender pens. I like to use a bit of both. But so that's watercolouring. I hope that you give them a try. So as I said, all the details are linked below, and you can go over to my blog site where you can visit my shop to purchase any of the products. So until next week, that's another wrap for What's Up Wednesday. Thanks for joining me. Bye.